got a couple of large fir to take down right next to a house today. I'll show you what they look like. It's these two here on the right side of the house. We got a little bit of a drop zone here in front of the house. We're gonna have to limb them all out and top them, so there's not enough room to drop them whole. We'll get set up and we'll get up these. Alright guys, we're going to be using this T540 to get the limbing done as we go up. Like I said, I'm always using this about 90% of the time for all the limbing, and then I'll grab a bigger saw when I got chunked down. As you can see, these firs are pretty tall, probably about 100 feet, maybe 110 next to the house. Limbs all over, hanging out over the house. So we're just gonna grab and swing each limb down as we go up the trunks. And once we can get it topped, we might be able to drop part of the stem over into this gravel area out here. All right, let's get started. So guys, when you first get on scene of some of these trees that you're taking down, try to get there early, look around, come up with a game plan before you start working. Because a lot of times, if you just take a little bit of time before you start cutting trees, to look at what trees are going to help you out if you keep them, how to best get them down efficiently, it'll save you so much time in the long run. Whereas if you just start going and cutting right off the bat, you might actually end up cutting a key tree that you need to finish your job out or make your job easier. So these ones we looked at, and it's pretty clear they're gonna have to be chunked down, both of them. So once I figured out that I need to chunk them down, I look at from there, which one do I want to take first? And we're gonna take this left one, which is the largest one, first. And the reason for that is the other tree is probably going to get hung up in it, the top. And we got a neighbor's house here with vehicles. We don't want the top from this right stem to fall over into his property. So we'll take this tree first, and then we'll move over into the right tree. Here's a tip, guys. When you're chunking these big trees down and you have a slope or something the log or rounds could hit and roll on, leave yourself a little nub here and there as you go up. Then what happens is when the piece hits the ground, it may roll for a second and it'll stop on the nub. Just peeling these down, I don't even need to do any sort of face cuts on them or anything. It's a big one right next to the house. See, so what you can do is put just a top cut in it. These larger branches that are overhanging something. Once you hear it crack, put your saw away and grab the limb and break it off. This one's not really overhanging anything, but what you can do is as you cut it, put some pressure out here, and you can actually move this all the way around without putting a face in. See? There's a nub right here from when we chunk it down. As you guys are going up these trees and limbing them out, use both trees to your advantage. We got limbs here on the left side of this stem here that are away from the house, so I can use this tree here to reach over and get these other limbs, so I don't have to do that when I come back up. As you guys are going up limbing, what you want to do is always position yourself around the tree. I don't have a line above me right now, but just my lanyard. But move yourself around the tree in the best position where you can grab a limb and push it away from any structures. So on this side, I got the house behind me. I'm gonna go ahead and these are small enough I can trim them off real quick. See, I can push this one over out of the way of the house. Same with this one. And just keep doing that. Rotate around the tree as you limb to get in the best position to move limbs when they break off. We're almost at the top here. We'll get that out. See, that one's hanging over the house. All I did was peel it down and push it out away from the house. Sometimes you can't do that on trees that are real brittle, alders and maple, but fir trees are really strong. And so this wood will actually hold on quite a bit, as well as the bark here, to be able to push limbs out. As you work your way up a stem, always think about where you're gonna top. I could put wedges in this and top this thing out, halfway up, but again, you're taking a risk. having a house right here behind me, I just don't think it's worth the risk to save 5 minutes of climbing up, limbing more, and taking a small top I can control by just pushing on it. So always weigh those things out. If the house was further away, I would just put a back cut in here right now, put some wedges in, and take the top into the gravel pad. But again, it's not worth it to me. I'd rather just climb up a little bit further, top it out, and then come down and chunk it out. So we're almost there. Okay, so we're at the point where you can top this tree out. One thing you always want to do is move yourself around the side of the tree, all the way around it, look at where the lean is. As I look straight up, I can tell this tree is near vertical, if not a slight lean away from the house. If you have this top or something with a pretty good lean away from the house, you know that there's never going to be an issue with this tree sitting back on you and breaking off the opposite direction unless you have high winds. So again, just get around the side of the tree, look up, and then get in the back of the tree and look up for whether it's also vertical from the back. It might actually be leaned out to the right or left, and you have to use scissor wheel or something to hold more wood on that side you want to control it on opposite of lean. We're gonna go ahead and top this one out here. Get yourself tight to the tree. Trim up anything in your way that's obstructing your vision. And we'll go ahead and put the back cut in here and face cut. So you know, just as I was putting that face in, the wind's kind of picking up. So what you want to do, go up higher, get higher. That happens sometimes when you're going to top a tree. The wind will pick up, and then you're at risk of the top grabbing a bunch of air and just pulling it right back on you and break it off. So let's go up a little higher. And now I think we're good to go. We'll top it right here. Just look for a clean spot in the tree. No knots. You don't want to be cutting in here. You want to cut right here where it's clean, because the wood grain is more vertical here. Here you have wood grain going in and at all sorts of angles, which doesn't give you good hinge wood to control the tree. Okay, we're just gonna use a Humboldt for this. Always inspect your hinge, make it clean. As you start your back, just put the saw in a little bit, start it, then get up, position yourself higher. Make sure your lanyard is below your cut, and just give it a push. There we go. As you're doing snap cuts, make sure the tree stops moving. As you spike down a stem with no foliage on it, you get a lot of movement in the stem. Make sure it stops, or is at least settled down before you start putting snap cuts in, because what can happen is you'll have both hands on your saw here making your back cut for your snap, and the tree, because of this movement, will actually break off backwards on you, and you may not catch it in time. So now it's calmed down, I'm gonna put my snap cut in. Halfway in, come in from the bottom or top. I prefer the bottom. Now as I get close, I see the stem move, I start positioning myself above it and bracing it. I know I can get this now. Another thing to be careful is when you're making these snap cuts, try not to have any pieces down below you that this piece could hit, because they will go flying. I've had pieces shoot off 90 degrees to a piece on the ground when you're high up and travel 40, 50 feet over. And it's pretty scary when it happens. So make sure you're always looking where do you want to put your next piece. That one broke in half is out of the way, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop another one right in there. About as big as you want to be messing with this 540. Switch over to a bigger saw. So see it moving up there? All we have to do is break it off. There we go. Here's a tip on getting down quick when you're in a tree and you're chunking it down by yourself. Leave yourself a limb, if not a couple limbs. Carry with yourself a smaller diameter cord, 8mm, 9mm, something like that. You can always carry a larger one if you want, but I found that this works pretty good. Drop it out of your pack. You're gonna loop it over this limb. This is probably 100 feet or so to keep it light on me. Again, you could carry a bigger cord if you wanted to, but start getting into more weight, more cumbersome. So I do is just loop this right over the limb, come around your back side of the limb. Oh, sick. Okay, now I can rappel here. Don't rappel like this. That's extremely dangerous. If you're bouncing down, this works its way off the limb, and now you fall. Come around the back. Because you don't have any movement as you go down, as far as this rope doing this, you're not using a double rope system, so you can just use a Rescue 8, and I use a Rescue 8 all the time for rappelling out. It is so efficient. Go ahead and make your lines equal. Just look down, wait till they equal out. So I can get a good 40, 50 feet down this tree now. Always carry a Rescue 8 on you. I just feel it's one of the most, I got Petzl zigzags, all sorts of other SRT devices. I find that I use this thing more often than not. Put a bite in, go around your carabiner, and there you go. Now, we'll rappel down. We'll find another spot we can utilize. I'm gonna drop my lanyard for a second to get this all underneath my system. I'm not gonna let go of the tree because I don't have it locked in. Now I'll come around again with my steel core. And I suggest, as you're learning to do this, don't drop your lanyard right away. I would really just suggest slack your big steel core out and then use this, just one hand on this here, like this. And then just move your lanyard down the tree. Slack it out, move it down. So this, in case you mess up, you're not free falling to the ground, right? As you make your way down and you know you're good, like I can see that's holding just fine, no issues. I'm gonna drop my lanyard and go down the rest of the way to the next point. Looking for another limb I can use. Right here. Lock it out. This is a soft lock. I've never had this come out, just soft locking it. If you feel uncomfortable with that, do what's called a hard lock and tie a knot in it so it can't slip. But all the times I've used soft locks, never had them fail. Now you can take this off, pull your line, put it back in here, rappel back to the ground. When you guys are going to limb out a tree and you've come down from the top of another one, take your bottom limbs. There's only certain occasions where you'll leave them, but over 90% of the time, take your bottom limbs, because what will happen is limb will come down from way up top, hit the bottom ones and it'll slide right into the house or into a vehicle. So what I'm gonna do is cut these all off real quick and then I'll go up. I can just move down a couple feet, take the last little bit. Now I don't have to worry about limbs being deflected or sliding off each other. There we go. Now we'll go on up and limb this one out. Get this system back out of this tree. This is how easy it is. Take your Rescue 8 out. This beats trying to put in a double rope retrievable system or an SRT retrievable system, something like that. This is way faster. Just grab your rope, pull it out. Easy. Look down when it comes out so it doesn't hit you. And that's it. Just repack it in whatever backpack you're carrying. And then you can go up again, do the same thing over again. So I'll just stack this right back in here. You don't have to coil it or anything. What I'll do is a few of these quick grabs of rope and just stuff it. If you coil it more often than not, it gets actually knotted up on the way down. This is a much better way. So we're towards the end of coiling this rope. What I do is I take the end of it and I always use a steel core. It just adds weight to get through branches as you're dropping it down. I'll just put that in a separate pocket or tie it to something or clip it to something on your bag, and that's so that it doesn't get knotted up. Okay, now we can go up this tree and start limbing it out and top it as well. And we'll do some work from the ground. This is still on the same battery for this saw. This is the BLI 300 battery, and I can get through 2 of these trees easily, topping and chunking some of it before I run out of battery. Also, same tank of oil. These saws are pretty incredible. What's nice about the T540 is it's quiet. You don't even have to wear ear pro if you don't want to. And you can talk to people on the ground and communicate. It's huge when you're rigging. There's a little caterpillar right here. Hopefully he gets off before we top it. Just to prove a point here about not taking big tops unless it's necessary. Take a look up. We got about 50 feet to the top. Instead of cutting it here and trying to wedge it, taking wedges out of my pack, bringing up an axe with me, having to carry that extra gear, risk of it going backwards because you cut a corner off. Let's see how long it takes to get up here and top it where I can control the top. almost already there. I would have just gotten the axe out and some wedges to tap the top over, and then I would have had to been careful with my back cut, my face cut. Whereas this, we're already there. Ready to top. I wouldn't have had that piece, the back and face cut even taken out by now. And I'm already at the top. Check your face, it's good. Start your back cut, get in higher, push in the push. There you go. We'll get to chunking down. Remember, wait for the tree to stop swaying before you make your snap cut, or at least settle it down a little bit so that you don't break a piece off by accident the wrong direction. It's still eco mode for this saw. When I'm going down, I typically hug part of the tree with one arm. Then I just grab both lanyards and just kind of swing them down. It's really nice and efficient and smooth. I'll put it on full power for you so you can see how that is. I rarely use full power. I just don't think it's really necessary most of the time. There we go. You can get away with that eco mode for pretty much all your job, and it saves your battery. Here's another full power mode. This is actually getting pretty large. Pretty decent sized stem here, and we can still chunk it down with this little saw. The last piece we take, we'll go get the 261. So here's a rappel point I left, about 50 feet up the tree. I left a limb. Now I can move my line over here and use my Rescue 8 to rappel the rest of the way rather than trying to lanyard down the whole entire tree, which is a lot more tiring, harder on your legs. We still got a whole nother stem to climb and chunk, so I don't want to waste a bunch of energy if I don't have to. Again, take your line around the tree. I'm actually just gonna drop my pack because I'm done with it. Always carry a safety line with you as you climb like this, because if you cut yourself really bad, you're not gonna have time to try and lanyard down. You may not be able to because the limb is, injured pretty badly. So carry a line. You can even have your Rescue 8 set up on your line so that all you have to do is throw it around a limb and rappel out. See, I can see now that they're even down there. So I'll go ahead and get my Rescue 8 now. Real simple. Soft lock it before you drop your gear. Verify you're hooked in. Take one lanyard first. Test your system. It's best to test anything that you're going to put all your weight into and trust your life with. Just test it, right? I'm soft lock, feels good. Go ahead and drop my lanyard. Unsoft lock it. Now you can rappel. Try and sit on these limbs here real quick and I grab my line back out. And getting your line is easy. Just pull it right back out. Make sure you guys are drinking a lot of water while you're climbing. It's about 70 degrees out right now. And in the past, I wasn't drinking enough water and had a lot of stomach issues because I get extremely dehydrated while I was up in the trees. So just make sure you're consuming a lot of water on hot days. All right, I'll get something to drink here and then we'll head back up. Okay, instead of going up and continuing to chunk the tree down, both these stems, I'm actually gonna do something that's gonna help me prevent any damage to property here, just to be safe. I'm gonna move a bunch of these limbs over here along this property line, just to avoid any rounds from trying to flip over and go down here. I'm also going to put some branches over here or log sections just as a buffer as well. And again, that will prevent the log from bouncing and going over the property line or into this trailer that's parked on the other side of this landing. Do whatever you can to, you know, stack the deck in your favor when you're taking down big trees. If there's any slopes, if that trailer wasn't there, I probably wouldn't worry about it. So they'll roll uphill, not down towards my truck, just like that. Get up here against this light post. See if we can grab one of these tops. Perfect. Okay, nothing's gonna roll through that. We'll be good to go on this side. Be real careful of is all those limbs at the base of the tree. If a section hits that, it's sloped like this, so that piece will gain a lot of speed as as it hits those branches, and you can end up having it fly down here. So we'll try and get those away from the base of the tree before we keep going. And get in really tight spaces that you can't get into with those larger minis. Keep building this up a little bit more on the side. As you swing debris with an excavator, that you don't rotate a piece into your foot or into your chest. That can happen really easily if you're not paying attention. That one came towards the cab. Use your teeth as a rake to position all the pieces parallel to each other. So like this, I'm going to use my teeth as a rake. Move these pieces out of the way. There you go. Okay, we got the buffer set up. Put my machine here in this corner, just in case any pieces try to come all the way out here. At least my machine will stop them, but we have a whole entire ring now of debris and a nice flat spot in here to take these stems down. I'll get going up them now. I was gonna take the 261 up with me, but this right stem's pretty big, so we're gonna use the 562 with a 30-inch bar to get it down. Maybe take the 261 up the other stem, or just stick with this. It doesn't really matter, I guess. Just choose a bar big enough and a saw powerful enough that you can get through the whole stem quickly. You don't want to be wasting time. Check your chain tension before you go up a tree, so you don't have to mess with that while you're up there. I'm gonna take down the largest stem first, just so we have less chance of a deflection or something. And then we'll take down this left stem. It's a lot lower than this right one. This one's pretty tall. So let's get up to the top. Okay, we're at the first section to take down. So what I do is I go to the side of the tree and I look up and I see, is there a lean back towards the house or structure? Do I need wedges? This one I don't. Depending on if there is a little bit of a back lean, you can overcome it with a deeper face cut, but you have to be super careful of that and that you don't have room to put wedges in case it sits back on you. So this one, it looks like it's slightly leaned out towards our landing. So I'm gonna put a pretty deep face cut in, probably at least halfway, if not 3/4 of the way through this thing. And then it should tip right over. Always check where your lanyard is. What this deep of a face cut does is it off balances the tree even more, or the section you're tipping. As long as this point where your hinge is on the other side of where your weight is, it's gonna go that direction. So you make these deep ones to off balance it as much as possible so you don't have to push so hard to get them over. See how deep that face came back? Just a little bit of holding wood right here. Well, sorry about that, guys. My battery died when I was chunking that larger stem down, but we still have this other one to get up and take down. Try and get that on camera for you guys. So you guys missed something happen there on that big stem I was chunking. There's something I warned you about with your saw getting caught as you're doing snap cuts or back cuts and it pulling the saw out with the log section and trying to pull it out of your hands, which is really scary when it happens. It did happen to me just a second ago. My tip got bent on the bar. So I'm gonna try to, I luckily ripped it out of the cut before the log section came down. It was that bigger one there. But we're gonna try and bore in a little bit here and rebend this tip. So that was kind of a quick makeshift way of fixing a bent bar because the saw didn't even want to run. I mean, the chain was so tight from me getting bent like that that it wouldn't have been able to chunk down the rest of this. So we'll head back up and get this other stem down. Okay guys, we're gonna take a pretty good section out of this one. Again, remember to get around the side, get around the back. Make sure there's not any lean. I'm not gonna put it on these other sections because I think it could deflect pretty good and it might end up over there. So we're gonna put it to the left here, try and shoot it right in there. Big section so that I wouldn't have to have the potential of deflection as I go further down. Now I really don't have any possibility of that happening. We're too close to the ground for a piece to go flying across into the other property. So now we could just snap cut these off pretty easy instead of using faces and back cuts. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim off all those nubs that we had on the sections. So with the smaller excavator, we can roll them over here out of the way. Otherwise, you'd be fighting those nubs if you're dragging into the ground. pieces, try to get as close as you can before you try and lift them. Be surprised at what you can lift with these little mini excavators. If it falls out, you can use your blade too. Pick it up against your blade. Just walk it over. That concrete pad from getting chipped out. So we just get the excavator on the back side of this stem. We don't need wedges. Plant the blade down. Just go ahead and put some pressure into it right off the bat where we want it to go. All right, put the face in. When you get into the bigger stems that you're taking down, you're really better off doing a Humboldt cut. And I'll show you, the whole face will just fall right out instead of you having to fight the conventional notch. We want this stem right here, so I'll cut it from right here. Go to the side and see what it's looking like here. Okay, it's straight enough. I could put in a really deep face and put it right here beside that one. Again, we'll go with a Humboldt. just to get the face out a little easier. So if I ever get stuck with sawdust, not wanting to run, just hit it. There you go, I'm clearing all those tips out. get that gullet out and work on your top plate. You don't need this one to be really sharp. It's just for dicing up the brush in the back of the dump. So we'll just put a quick sharpen on this, and we'll get back there and keep dicing. Okay, so this is odd. This chain is stock, brand new chain I put on yesterday, and for some reason the chain has no gullet. So that can happen to you. You get these stock chains and they really cut like garbage most of the time because they're not sharpened properly. So I don't know if you guys can see it. The gullet's leaned forward. It's not even it's not cut out at all like it's supposed to be. So make sure you clean those gullets up, and otherwise your chain's not gonna cut at all. Okay, we got a nice sharp chain now. Let's see how it cuts. Cutting a lot better now. We got a lot of big pieces in here to get through. Dicing all this stuff allows you to get more in on one load.
Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where he arose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again. All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing.